Hello. Well, I'm not supposed to be alone here. We need another 4 panelists, so I will invite Effie Triantafilopoulos to join us, Antigoni Lymperopoulou, Nikos Stamou, and Mr. Sven as well. Thank you. So, ready to start. I think we should start by introducing our guests today. And I will start with Effie Triantafilopoulos, who is an elected politician with the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario since 2018. She's also the parliamentary assistant to the Minister of International Trade, Job Creation and Trade. And before that, she was a counsel at Vassos LPP, Vassos Law. So she combines law and business. Mr. Nikos Stamou, who's a director for investment promotion, energy, services, and environment. Okay, I got it. With Enterprise Greece, which is a state agency for promoting Greek exports and investment attraction in Greece. Ms. Antigoni Lymperopoulou, who since 2020, I think, is the CEO of the Hellenic Bank for Hellenic Development Bank for Investments. She has worked before that in other financial institutions that preceded the bank. She's got a lot of experience with venture capital, project financing, and she will talk us about the Greek economy a bit later. And Mr. Sven, who's been with Econ.Development Canada. Okay. So Mr. Sven has been with Econ.Development Canada since the year 2000 in various posts, climbing the ladder in the organization. And since April 2024, he's the Senior Vice President for Canada Corporate Business. I got it. Okay, thank you. So let's start with you, Effie. We heard Premier Ford earlier talk us about his economic policy, how he supports Ontario for the past 6-7 years. Can you comment a bit more about why Ontario is the economic power horse of Canada and how this can foster international partnerships?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dionyssis. And before I get into some of the substance of my remarks, I also would very much like to thank the Delphi Economic Forum and the Hellenic Initiative Canada for working and planning this 3rd annual forum here. I'd also like to recognize the hand of Minister Nikos Papathanassis, who knows and understands Ontario very well and has been instrumental in making sure that our forum comes to Toronto each and every year. Now, I have to tell you, having heard both the Premier Ford and our friend Dan Tish speak about Ontario and what the competitive advantage is of our province, I'm not sure I need to say very much at all today, but I will just highlight a few points. I think it's important to be able to talk about the strategic advantages we have, not just in Canada, but also the fact that Ontario truly is a gateway into the North American market, and you heard Dan touch on that. But let me set the table in terms of what we as a government inherited in 2018 when we were first elected. It's important for you to understand that context, to be able to also understand just how far we've come. So when we were first elected 6 years ago, Ontario's reputation had been tarnished by years of anti-business policies by the previous government. The cost of doing business was very high. Business was mired in red tape and regulations. 300,000 manufacturing jobs had fled the province to the United States and to Mexico. And Ontario had just become a very, very expensive and high-risk place to operate. So in that context, what did we do? Radical change was needed, and that's in fact what in fact happened with our government. Our objective was to turn Ontario's trajectory around and restore the province as a business-friendly and competitive destination for investment. The Premier touched on it as well this morning, and so one of the fundamental things that we did was reduce the cost of doing business by $8 billion each and every year, and we continue to do that. We cut burdensome regulations and red tape with annual savings to business of over $1 billion. We introduced 11 red tape reduction bills and reduced 500 pieces of red tape. We reduced energy costs for medium-sized and large industrial and commercial employers, saving 15 to 17% on electricity bills. And more importantly, as the Premier said today, in the last 6 years, we've raised no new taxes, not on businesses and not on individuals and families. So the results kind of speak for themselves. 800,000 new jobs created since 2018. In fact, in 2023, we had more manufacturing jobs created in Ontario than all 50 United States combined. Once again, Ontario has become the economic engine of Canada, and we've really signaled to the world that Ontario is, in fact, open for business. Our goal was and continues to be to make life more affordable for families, individuals, and seniors, and of course, be able to create a business climate that is predictable and safe, where investors can achieve long-term growth and partnerships can flourish. Now, I will leave my remarks till there, and then we can talk later on about some of the specific sectors where I think there are more opportunities for Greece, Canada, and obviously Ontario business relationships.
Thank you very much, Effie. I will give the floor to Antigoni Lymperopoulou to give us her perspective on the Greek economy. We've gone through a deep and long crisis. I think that in the past few years, a lot of positive things have been happening, but what is the take of the Hellenic Development Bank on the economy of Greece, and what is the role of the bank in all that?
Okay. Thank you for this invitation and for giving me the opportunity to present what is going in Greece today, and especially in the Hellenic Development Bank of Investments. First, I would like to share my experience. It's an exciting country. It's my first visit in Canada, of course, first visit in Toronto, and I'm thrilled. And I would not imagine that we had so common values, as everybody said before. It feels like home, and thank you all for that. Now, as per the Hellenic Development Bank of Investments, we are a state-backed organization, the fund of Greece, the sovereign fund of Greece. We manage public and European funds. Doesn't work very well. Better now. Okay. So we manage public and European funds with the aim to participate in newly established venture capital and private equity funds that mainly invest in Greece. Although I'm the CEO of this company since 2020, I've been working in this since the establishment of this organization since 2000. So I'm 25 years there, and I've watched this ecosystem grow, how it grew. It was 300 million euros, the public spending on this kind of investments the last 20 years, just before 2020. And during the last 4 years, we have already committed more than 750 million in 31 investment schemes that have managed to raise private capital that amount to more than 1.5 billion. So 1.5 billion investment money is now available in Greece. What has changed? It has changed the framework. We have a stable policy now. We have a stable tax regime, a very friendly investment framework that has attracted also foreign investments. We have the funds, we have availability of funds, which is a must. We have talent, and we are managing to attract Greek talent back in Greece. We have managed to attract also foreign people that have selected Greece to be their, let's say, to have their headquarters and operate from there. And we have what Mrs. Kourtakis mentioned earlier. We have this feeling and sense of community, networking, and entrepreneurial spirit. So if we combine all these ingredients together, this is the reason why there is such a success and such an enormous development in the Greek startup entrepreneurial ecosystem currently. Now, we cannot go alone, of course, so we have to grow together. And what we find very, very important is the fact that we have to work all together. And we have, I'm excited to see that Greece is not in the position now to only ask for money or investment that used to do in the previous years, but also have big Greek investors like Metlen investing in Canada, and of course vice versa. We know the very semantic investment that have happened from Canadian investors to Greece. My view is that we need to bring the ecosystems together and find the interactions that could bring value and be mutually benefit both to investors and startups and enterprises in general. And we can do that by presenting the opportunities to both sides, to both countries. I think this is a great achievement that you have made so far with this Toronto Economic Forum, and we can build further these initiatives and exchange, have mutual conversations and discussions and presentations of the opportunities that are available.
Thank you, Ms. Lymperopoulou. We'll pass on to Sven. I have to say that I'm a fan of the way that Canada promotes its business abroad, and I've been promoting that to Greece because you can learn some lessons. But why don't I let you explain how you do that, how this supports Canadian business?
Good morning, and first of all, thank you for having me here today to share a little bit our perspective at Econ.Development Canada in terms of how we can make trade between Canada and Greece grow. And for those of you who do not know, Econ.Development Canada is Canada's official export credit agency. And we make it our goal to make Canadian exporters and investors abroad succeed. And we do that by offering a series of financial products, including financing and insurance, in order to mitigate some of the trade risks that will, over the long term, lead to win-win situations between Canada and its trading partners. And if we think about, I want to take a moment just to reflect a little bit on the trajectory that the trade relationship has been on. And I want to frame it in the context of the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement that Canada signed with the EU, because I do think that that laid the foundation for the economic cooperation deepening between both of our countries. And some of the figures, as I was preparing for today, are actually quite interesting, I would say, because while in some ways they're still small, they're actually showing significant progress. So we had 2.2 billion trade in 2022. Merchandise trade between Canada and Greece stood around just shy of 600 million US. But what is really interesting is that if we look at the exports in merchandise to Greece in 2023, they're up 20%. Like, that's a significant number for a one-year growth, and something that we can actually have to take stock of and be proud of, in the sense that the groundwork that was laid by the free trade agreement has in fact led to substantial growth, and the opportunities remain. Exports both ways have continued to grow, but what is also key to economic cooperation between countries is that foreign direct investment has continued to grow. And that's also in both directions. And if we think about some of the investments that Canada has done, the Canadian private sector has done in Greece in the recent times, El Dorado and airport infrastructure, etc. Those are not fleeting investments. Those are long-term investments. Those show the commitment between both countries to build something together and have the potential for that long runway to show even greater growth. Because if we look at the pipeline of potential investment opportunities both ways, it is actually quite substantial.
Thank you very much. Effie, I'm sorry. Before coming back to you, Nikos Stamou, we've experienced the crisis. We are experiencing now issues in our neighborhood, in the Middle East, in the Ukraine. This has affected a lot our neighborhood, and Greece in particular. Energy prices have gone up. What do you think the effect was in Greece, and how the economy can deal with that?
Thank you, Dionyssis. Good morning. I would like to start by saying that it's a real pleasure to be here in Toronto for this beautiful city for one more time and addressing this great forum. I believe we already see the results of the forum. We see the developments between bilateral cooperation, bilateral economic relations over the last few years. Previous speakers mentioned two specific examples and results, either from very important investments, either from Greece to Canada, like the one presented from Medlen, a massive investment, even by Greek standards, and also the major investments that were mentioned from Canada to Greece. So congratulations to the people, to the team from Delphi Forum and Hellenic Initiative for supporting this, and to Mr. Papathanasis, actually, who has the fatherhood of the event. Speaking of the minister, what I would like to also add to what Ms. Lymperopoulou said earlier on about the investments has been the impact and the importance that has been provided to investments in Greece, and how much they have grown by the great work that has been done on the Ministry of Finance, and in particular the expanded 5-year plan for 90 billion worth of investments. These are investments from national and EU funds, which I believe is going to be a further driver in the already very successful course of FDI over the last few years. I like to state stats and facts, so allow me just to say one fact, that over the last 5 years, Greece has recorded a total amount of investments amounting to 47% of the total FDI completed over the last 22 years. I think this is a great and impressive figure, and I think it also demonstrates the success on the FDI front, and hence the importance of other supplementary actions like public investments that I mentioned earlier on. Now back to your question, of course, and the opportunities and what's been happening on the energy sector. I would like to start by, once again, two facts that have shown that have happened over the last few years and have greatly affected the Greek energy sector. Starting with the Russian invasion in Ukraine back in 2022, we have seen, in a nutshell now, energy price spikes, and we have also witnessed the increased insecurity felt within Europe and also within Greece, and vulnerability from the amount in the extent that the Russian gas was contributing to EU's energy mix. At the same time, before that, I would also like to point out that we had another event that is in the production of energy. And I would like to mention the supply chain shock felt on electricity equipment immediately after the pandemic. So let me remind, just for this discussion, that once again Europe and Greece felt vulnerable and insecure with the supply chain because of the pandemic and the crisis that was attributed then at the global channels, and also to other reasons pertaining to the availability of this equipment and to concentration in certain areas of the world. So today, we're on a completely different page. What I mean by that is that Greece is an already established regional hub in the Eastern European, the greater region where it stands. And I say that because we have progressed a lot, Greece being at the forefront of green transition in renewables, with in excess of 12 gigawatts of installed capacity in both major technologies, that is onshore wind and solar technologies. We're well ahead of the targets set within our programs for green energy and decarbonization as submitted to the EU. At the same time, we have also another ambitious target, yet I believe quite reachable, for 24 plus gigawatts of capacity built by 2030 in all major technologies, apart from the ones I've just cited. That will include offshore wind. It will include hybrid technologies combining RES technologies. It will also include geothermal. It will also include biomass, small hydro, and other technologies. And at the same time, as we build up capacity within the renewables field, another need is felt, and that is the need for energy storage, which is another aspect that Greece is doing a lot and has once again progressing with its auctions for building energy storage capacity, both in terms of battery storage as well as hydro pumped storage, and we have several groundbreaking projects already being developed in Greece. On top of that, I would also like to mention the very hefty, in terms of budget, programs that are already in progress that aim in securing our networks, our electricity and gas pipeline networks. And by that, I mean the multi-billion upgrade and development plans via international land and subsea interconnectors. Also, I also implied to the gas pipelines, and at the same time, what I believe is quite important for Canada is the upgrading and building of new capacity on floating storage units and floating storage and regasification units with the participation of major foreign international investors. So in the aftermath of the Russian invasion, what we have seen in a nutshell, what we can say is that Greece used to be in the past a consumer in the south. Now it finds itself, with all these infrastructure being developed, an energy producer and distributor in the region, as we see this reversal of flows from north to south, now from south to the north. What's also important to say, as we mentioned, what the problems in supply chain is that at the same time, Greece also invested and developed, and is developing, its own supply chain of energy equipment, as well as specialized services. This is a very strong export market with a strong potential, and once again, a field of cooperation and importance for Canada, being a country primarily relying on energy and having such a big impact, this sector, on the national economy. So the importance of this sector can have an export value in excess of 15 billion annually by 2030, according to certain estimates. In closing, a token and what we've seen happening in the market. Following the invasion has also proved as a catalyst in the things that surrounded and affected the industry. So these have been a catalyst for increased activity of consolidation, M&As, mergers and acquisitions, the formation of joint ventures, the entry of major foreign investors in the industry. I can cite some examples. The recent mega deal, one of the highest of the UAE Emirates Masdar with Terna Energy. Also the Australian Macquarie's acquisition of the distributor Hedno, and also in NL Green Power. And also to mention the developing investments of Cubico, which is part of PSP and OTP. It's a Canadian-owned company which is active in the solar PV sector. Finally, summing up and seeing the broader picture and the opportunities for Canadian investors, Greece offers solid opportunities, as mentioned, in all subsectors, energy subsectors. And we will be glad at Enterprise Greece to help and facilitate foreign investors explore these opportunities. So feel free to reach out to us during this conference to talk more about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Stamou. Let me just add the two electricity interconnectors being built right now, one to Egypt and one to Cyprus and Israel, which will offer energy security to Israel as well, getting energy from Europe, and the same with Egypt and Greece. So getting back to you, Effie, you're also part of the World Hellenic Interparliamentary Association. So you're in the unique position of knowing very well both Canada and Greece. What do you think could be done better in order to develop, to foster partnerships between Ontario and Greece?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. And I'm delighted that we have such a great representation from the World Hellenic Parliamentary Association here today, including Senator Lou Raptakis, Annie Koutrakis, and Aris Babikian. So we're well represented. There are so many areas where I think that there's great opportunity for our bilateral relationship to be enriched, and particularly in the new technologies, the new area where so many people are just trying to catch up, whereas I think Canada and Ontario were already there. And so let me just highlight a few of them. One is the whole area around automotive and EV investments. As the Premier mentioned, and I think Dan Tish as well touched on, in the last 4 years here in Ontario, we've attracted $45 billion in automotive and EV investments, more auto and EV investments than any U.S. state. In 2019, Reuters reported that companies plan to spend $300 billion globally in the EV sector, and none of it was planned for Canada. So we've been able to manage to get on the world stage on the importance of the automotive and EV transition. So Bloomberg now ranks Canada as the #1 in their annual battery supply chain rankings, dropping China for the very first time in 4 years. And this is also critical, as I'll get into in a moment, about our critical mineral strategy. So the demand for EVs has actually gone up this last year 35%. In some respects, people think it's sluggish, but the reality is it's going only in one direction, and that is growing. And what Ontario has to offer, we're blessed with deposits of critical minerals such as nickel, cobalt, lithium, platinum, and other raw materials. And this will provide a strategic global supply chain as EV battery manufacturing starts. As the Premier mentioned, all of the 6 major automotive manufacturers are now located in Ontario. So that is huge. Last year, you may have heard as well from our Ontario Minister of Mines, George Peary, who was on a panel, and he spoke about our critical mineral strategy. The other area that's really important for all of us, I think, in this room is high tech and AI, and where we're headed with that. So the future of tech and innovation is really an exciting time for Ontario. Ontario is one of the largest and most sought-after tech hubs, #2 in North America. Global hub for AI with 420,000 tech workers as 25,000 firms and over 400 AI tech companies are generating more than 85,000 jobs in Ontario. So this will be an interesting statistic. Last year, 10,000 tech workers from the United States applied to come to Canada in a 48-hour period. They're coming this way rather than us going the other way. And this is the brain drain coming into Canada. I happened to be at an event just yesterday, the day before, in Kitchener-Waterloo, and happened to, many of you might have known Jim Basili, who was the former CEO of BlackBerry. And this is what he had to say at this particular conference. He said the most valuable commodity on Earth today is information technology and AI. The global economic shift is going to this, and Ontario in Canada is extremely well positioned for that transition as we're moving forward. The other area I'll just touch on briefly, because I know you want to ask other questions of our panelists, is our life sciences. So our life sciences are critical in terms of investments. $5 billion investments in our Ontario now, 72,000 people employed in that area across 2,000 firms. And according to Bloomberg, Ontario has overtaken Silicon Valley with the largest number of people employed in the tech sector. We're growing faster, 350% faster than they are. We graduate 70,000 STEM grads each year. So we have nothing but a very, very strong, well-educated workforce. I think truly a competitive advantage in life sciences, tech, and I going forward. I would touch on energy and electricity. That's a tough word. Energy and electrification, but I won't do so in any great detail because, as you know, our Ontario Energy Minister will be speaking about that later in our program.
Thank you, Effie. First of all, don't tell those 10,000 tech workers that they can do the same thing in a sunny country. Okay. So, getting back to you, Ms. Lymperopoulou, how could
if I may add,
yeah.
It's an information, I don't know, 11% of the 0.5 top AR researchers are Greeks. So it's a very good, information and optimist, let's say, for this for the Greeks.
Okay. So how could the Hellenic Development Bank support all those partnership and investments that we're looking for between Greece and Canada? And another bit trickier question is a concern. We often hear that, okay, Greece is doing fine, things are improving, but what will happen if there is a political change? We're a democracy, we love it, we invented it, but in democracies, governments change. What will happen then?
Okay, I think I will start from the last one. Of course, stability is an issue, and it's a very critical issue, and we have experienced stability the last years. So it was and still is our opportunity to build, to strengthen our, let's say, institutions, structures, processes, so as to be autonomous and not dependent of these political changes. This is something that in HDBI, it actually works and worked since its inception. Investment decisions are made on market terms, and they are not at all dependent of government, ministries, individuals. So it's other processes. And then the introduction of the presence of institutional investors that comply with the market operator test, let me not bother you with regulations, but these are things that depend on investment decisions and nothing else. We have a size in this ecosystem today in Greece. As I mentioned earlier, in our only VC and private equity funds, so 1.5 billion for this country is a very important number. So our objective and our mission as HDBI is to kickstart and help support and develop the market. If we manage to do that, then our presence should not be required, if you know what I mean. So public money is there to initiate things, is there to attract foreign investors. HDBI is there to be the reliable co-investor. So whoever wants to invest in Greece or learn something about the investment landscape, apart of course from Enterprise Greece that has a global overview, can reach to us. So we accommodate investors in our funds. We, as we have done, for example, we have a co-investment agreement in place with the United Arab Emirates, with Mubadala. We have managed to have Mubadala invest in 3, as of today, Greek funds, and they have a very strong deal flow, so we expect more investments to happen in the next months. We have that. We also have fund managers that used to live in Canada as well. And they came back and they shared their experience and know-how by setting funds in Greece, like Dionyssis, a very small fund, and another one in the technology sector. We also have our community of fund managers traveling to Canada as well to search for Greek-related or founders, or even Canadian, that want to have an establishment in Greece as well, so as to have an eligibility for the investment from our funds. So there is an opportunity, and I suggest that if we could organize in the near future, let's say a visit, an exchange of investors from Greece to Ontario, or from Ontario to Greece, that would be perfect. And I'm sure that there are deals that we don't know and are under discussion as we speak. Apart from that, I also see cooperation, very, very wide field of cooperation in energy, as you said earlier. And I think Greece has a lot to gain from the exchange of experiences. This is also reflected in the interest from fund managers that we receive at HDBI, because as we have developed in Greece the core value chain in the small to mid fund sizes that invest in food, in technology, in energy efficiency, so on and so forth. Now we see a trend towards establishing bigger, larger funds that would invest in infrastructure and more, let's say, energy-related projects, and also in the technology transfer in the other end of this value chain. And this is also relevant after the decision of Canada to participate in the European Horizon scheme. So you understand, once you have developed the medium part of this chain, now the edge that has to do with acceleration phases of the companies, the technology transfer, the research institutes, the spin-outs, spin-offs, and so on and so forth, and the bigger funds that will invest mainly in the infrastructure. So this is how, in a snapshot, I can see the cooperation opportunities between our two countries.
Thank you very much. Just to add to what you said, since a few months ago, Canada is a member of, is eligible for projects under the Horizon Europe program. And also Canada is a member of the European Space Agency. So projects, joint projects from the two countries, actually from Europe and Canada, can be funded through the European Space Agency as well.
Yes, so what is missing is the direct flights.
Yes. All year round. Hope we'll get them. Going back to you, Sven, Canada conducts the biggest share of its business mostly with the US. And that leaves Europe a bit at the corner. That's how we feel sometimes. Europe, as a total, runs a big surplus, trade surplus with Canada. What do you think could be done more in order to not reverse it, because it doesn't need to be reversed? The US will always stay a huge customer and partner so close to Canada. But I feel that it could be better with Europe. Things could be done to increase more business with Europe.
Yeah, so I think what you're alluding to is sort of the problem of having the biggest market right next door and such an easy way to access. But at the same time, that actually poses a bit of a risk over the long term. And from our perspective, we've made it our business to encourage Canadian companies to diversify, because that is the best medicine to overcome temporary hiccups, as we are seeing, and as we're thinking about what's going on down south. It's for Canadian businesses to really think beyond the U.S. And once again, CETA is really the foundation for that. It is really the foundation for us to think beyond and create a level playing field and easy access and make trading easier. But then we also need to look at those parts of Europe where specifically in case of Europe, but it's also part of, if you look at other parts of the world, where we have the most similarities in terms of the needs and wants of different countries. And if I bring that back to Greece and some of the projects that we talked, that have been mentioned earlier today, I mean, that's exactly where Canada has capabilities. I mean, you want to talk offshore wind? Like, who better to partner with than Canada, right? If we want to talk about energy storage, like we're at the forefront. If you want to talk about infrastructure investors, well, the Maple 8 are the example to follow in terms of infrastructure investment around the world. So the opportunities are there. The similarities between the countries, I mean, they're different in many ways, but we're so similar in some others. And we're both facing climate change differently, but we're both facing climate change. And some of the challenges are actually very similar. So if we think about forest fires, well, Canada and Greece are facing a very similar similar challenge. And I think that is an area where we can double down on, and we can find ways to cooperate. EDC was in Red Deer not too long ago and met a Greek delegation that was looking at Canadian fire protection technology and fire protection services. That's an area for us to intensify. Recently, Canada and the EU and Greece, as part of that, signed a contract for the delivery of de Havilland firefighting airplanes. They are actually wearing the maple leaf, and it gets Canada noticed in Greece. At the end of the day, though, trade is a people-to-people business, and it is events like this, and it is fora where we can showcase what each country has to offer and where the opportunities lie, that are going to strengthen the ties, that are then going to base themselves on agreements such as CETA to build that long-term prosperity. And just to reiterate what I said at the very beginning, the capabilities that Canada has respond to many needs that Greece has in terms of investment, in terms of technology. So there's ample space for us to collaborate and grow that bilateral trade. Agri-food is another one.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to add to what you said, Canadair is the best advertisement for Canadairs. The Canadair aircraft is the best advertisement for Canada in Greece, because every summer we look in the sky and we see those planes with that name. And second thing is that those 7 aircraft that we ordered from de Havilland is the biggest order that they got from any country so far. And the first to sign, yes. So my last question will go to Mr. Stamou. We've heard a lot about brain drain. We're listening now about brain gain. And a recent concern is that do we have enough top talent for the companies that invest in Greece or develop business in Greece? Recently, it's becoming a concern. What do you think about it?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to give Greece's testimonial on what Ms. Triantafilopoulos was saying before about Canada, and give the perspective of Greece on top talent. Also, the importance of top talent couples to what Minister Papathanasis also mentioned earlier on about strategic and key investment sectors of Greece, and in particular ICT, life sciences, AI, pharma engineering, etc. So, as we're closely running out of time, and I presume also Mr. Tsomokos can be really strict on that, I will just briefly, once again, state some facts and some conclusions and some tokens to take with us. Nearly half of the working age population of Greece, that is the percentage, I think the actual one is about 47%, working age population aged 24 to 65%, are tertiary education graduates. 1/3 of these graduates, 33%, the statistic was from the Greek Statistical Authority, 1/3 of these graduates are also postgraduate holders, most of them, as you presume, at master's level, and a lower percentage to a doctorate level. Within these graduates, 25% are 1 out of 4, in plain numbers, are science, technology, engineering, and mathematics graduates. Obviously, this has got a massive implication for the high-value sectors that we're talking about, the capital intensive, and actually the sectors that require a lot of expertise. Adding to that, we could say that another 1 out of the 4, or maybe less, belongs to to degrees like medicine, health sciences, law, business and economics degrees, which once again are relevant to the investments in the sectors we're talking about. All these facts that I've just stated are widely acknowledged by well-established international surveys, HR surveys, like the Global Talent Competitiveness Index and the IMD World Talent Report, where Greece has been receiving top ranks over the last few years on specific attributes like tertiary enrollment, skills matching, percentage of researchers, language skills, and the percentage of STEM graduates, as mentioned before. So this is well documented. What is also important to cite about Greek workforce's experience is the international work experience gained. And this is actually from a fact that coming from a family level or a personal level of people, Greeks, a lot of these Greeks seek this exposure either through studying or working or both. In support of that, I can just share with you a small story, an incident that happened a few months ago. I was invited by an embassy in Athens to inform the embassy's companies, foreign companies, about what the developments in the Greek economy and share their experience from the market and their projects and the prospects. In my surprise, out of the 10 companies participating, 6 out of the 10 companies, the branches in Greece, were headed by Greeks, which in the discussion I found out that there were people that either studied or worked abroad over the previous decade, and when the time came for these companies to expand, seeing the opportunity that we've been talking about over the last few years, opportunities rising in Greece and entering the Greek market, who else better to lead this function than Kostas, Yannis, or Dimitris, than somebody local from the country. So these people arrived, so that is one more proof. What this proves is that top world industry leaders in all the sectors described, the life sciences, the technology, engineering, artificial intelligence, which is another element that was commented here before, and as well GBS and BPOs, the Global Business Services and Business Process Operations Centers, where we see a massive influx over the last few years. We see a steady growth and a steady inflow of these companies in the Greek economy and establishing operations in a broad spectrum. Once again, I can say that according to the Ernst & Young Attractiveness Survey, 8% of foreign direct investment last year was related to this kind of investments, to services, to technology, to R&D, etc. So today we're very happy to have to have many companies investing in Greece in that field and deploying operations with these capital-intensive functions and industries, employing high-quality talent. Companies like Pfizer, Cisco, Amazon, Microsoft, Sejeka, and of course Canadian companies as well, like Contact Point, InTouch, CX, Customer Experience, and Fair Infrastructure. The mode of operations that we see, and I think an example that I could also share before concluding, is the Pfizer example. For those of you who are not aware of how it proceeded, because I think the Pfizer example in Greece and especially in Thessaloniki is well known to a lot. But this investment started in 2021, when at the years of the pandemic. It started with 200 people and with one hub created there. So far, I believe the number is 5. They've created 5 hubs and they've scaled up this function to 1,400 people, that example. And on my plane, actually, tutor I was reading on the papers that they're initiating an extra one, which will operate by the end of 25, adding another 200 people. So this demonstrates, I believe, vividly the potential for recruitment, the quality of the Greek human capital, the talent available there. And we're very glad at Enterprise Greece that we have successfully supported quite a few of these investments, and also helped, in creating the framework, the supporting framework for these investments within the Ministry of Development. And we're happy to do that by providing a specialized service of a site visit, connection to stakeholders, explaining the benefits, providing the background information, and everything relevant for the investor to make up their final decision. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Nikos. Thank you very much, all of you, for the discussion and the opinions. I believe we're running out of time. We'll conclude here, and we'll have a short break and get back with the next panel.